So obviously Kendrick surprised us, the world, last week by dropping a new album in GNX. As with any polarizing artist, the project is getting mixed reviews. And some are curious, is GNX a precursor to a more conceptual album? Is it a handful of throwaways, similar to kind of like what Untitled, Unmastered was? Is it a way to get fresh material for the Super Bowl or to further drive the stake into this summer's activities? But it leads to the question, what was the purpose of Kendrick Lamar's GNX project? What's the purpose of this release? That's the question that I pose.
Kendrick has pretty much owned 2024 in my personal opinion.
He's absolutely
in hip hop. So
no doubt.
It's like he doesn't want to take his foot off the gas, hence the title GNX. And he's been alluding to this GNX for a while.
Yep.
So he's been posting certain shots with where you can see the car. You might only see the front. You might have seen when he just got it. You might have seen the inside of the car. You might have seen a magazine spread that had a piece of the car featured as well. So there's actually been a build up to this album.
With the purpose of the project, I think it's pretty much drive the rest of the stake into what he's been doing throughout the course of the year, and a precursor to the Super Bowl and something else. So I don't know what something else is. I was talking to the homie P. Sake, a rapper in Chicago, one of our friends. He said he thinks it's a precursor to something else.
I mentioned that too in the chat.
Terry mentioned that as well. Those are two people I heard it from, but that's what I think it is. He's just riding out at the end of the year, dropping something to establish his dominance and confirm his dominance, and then lead into the Super Bowl and keep everybody else guessing as to what's coming next. That's literally what I think it is.
I mean, he come outside like Omar, like for real,
straight up.
Like he's living up to the whole boogeyman.
Well, what they say, pressure. This release is 100% about pressure.
Sometimes you just got to pop out and show them.
That's it.
And I think he heard what people had to say about Mr. Rel, because once again, I've said how much I enjoy that project, but it's not an easy album to listen to.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not a casual listen.
Nowhere near one of my favorites.
It makes sense for Kendrick though.
Yeah, and he said, basically, he did that album for himself. He just let us listen to it. He did this album for, I think, first and foremost, everybody on the West Coast that held him down, and who, is almost appreciation. When you saw what that concert, on Juneteenth was, this in context of that, it makes a lot of sense, the direction of the sound of this album. I don't think this is leading into some high concept, he's still an MC.
Yeah.
And he wants to establish his prowess with his pen and on the microphone, and sometimes it doesn't have to be this whole thing about therapy and family. It might I just need you to hear these songs and me going buck wild and let you know that I am him.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what this is, and I appreciate it for that.
It's a situation I told Mike too. When Jay-Z dropped Hard Knock Life, the album, as a Jay-Z fan, that wasn't one of my favorite albums.
No.
But what it did, it brought in other people that were more into like a commercially successful artist. It had that commercial sound, so to speak. It had shit that you could dance to, essentially. People been saying Kendrick can't drop stuff for people to have fun to in the club. He just gave you a whole album full of it to pretty much say, hey, I really can do that. That's not me all the time. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what I want to do. And at the same time, like you said, he wanted to give homage to the West Coast.
Yeah.
So it's got that bounce to it. It's moving. I mean, of course, he's got a couple songs that are kind of more slowed down or kind of semi-serious, but not the typical Kendrick serious that you get most of the time. This is like a Kendrick Lamar, I hate to say, for dummies.
Yeah.
Essentially. I don't want to say that. But
he said it himself in the Squabble video.
That's crazy. But yeah, it's like, this is me. I want y'all to come on in and enjoy the ride. Hop in the GNX.
He said it on Whacked Out Murals. This is not for the lyricists.
Yeah.
Not about double entendres. It's not about none of that. So he's setting the stage, even though he still rapped his ass off throughout the project.
Exactly.
He still was like, look, this is not that. Like, we really about to go, I'm going another direction. And Lone even alluded to using the word polarizing. And that's one thing I've noticed is, and Terry and I had a conversation about this, it's almost flipped. It's so he's giving people what they want in terms of being able to make those types of records.
The people.
Yeah,
the people.
The masses, the people. The
haters, essentially.
Well, that part. Thank you. But he's essentially giving you what you've said was his left hand, his weakness or whatever. He's giving you
what
that.
He couldn't do.
What he couldn't do, right? He can't go left, so he goes left.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls it off, executes going left. Now I see people that are Kendrick fans that have followed him that seem upset about the project because it's not so deep. It's not so thematic or schemed. I'm like, it's still good though. How can we not see the good in it because he's pivoted?
I think some people just want artists to stay true to who they are and not have to play off of the person as much. You know, like, just give me you. I don't need you to give me you based upon what you think other people want you to be.
Do you think this is not Kendrick?
Well, I haven't answered this question. So I think that this is Kendrick wanting to stick the stake in all the way and say, in case you thought that there was 3, there's really only 1. And I'm going to continue to tell you until there's no question anymore.
We on the same page, my friend.
That's what this is. And I'm going to do it with all West Coast, with the West Coast behind me, where I'm from. Big up all that stuff. Like,
Facts.
I'm going to build. That's what I think that this is.
Yeah, I agree.
We on the same page, sir. We are on the same page.
But so I don't remember what your question was, but.
No, it's cool. I was just talking about the fact that people are. He went left and now people are mad about him going left.
I can understand that sometimes. Like, if my favorite artist continues to put out great music, or something that I really like over and over again, and then he all of a sudden or she pivots and does something different, then I'm like, man, I really like this person and I really like the lane they were in. I kind of wish they were still there. Now, do I think the fan has any say in what the artists do? No, not at all. Not at all. But I can understand the sentiment of wanting them to kind of stay true to who they are and not play into the haters, essentially, or the people that are going to criticize you because they don't understand or they don't resonate with what you've been doing.
Well, here's the thing too, with the track list, when I looked at it and went back and listened to it, and talking about what we're talking about in terms of him with the pivot, there are still sprinkles of that. There's Man in the Garden, there's Gloria, there's like, The Hard Part 6, there's Reincarnation, there's Whacked Out Murals. I'm still here, but I'm also putting my coastal one in the process.
I would say,
you see what I'm saying?
As me a fan, I would say the only one that kind of resonated with me in that aspect was probably Gloria.
Just Gloria.
And maybe The Heart Part 6. The other ones were a little bit, the Luther record kind of, but I feel like
I like that.
I feel like the Luther record was, I feel like he's kind of done records like that before, but I feel like he's done those type of records better.
Well, it's because you heard him and SZA. Him and SZA are a winning pair.
Very good combination.
So whenever they get together, it has that same feel, but it's different. But I mean, I respected everything he did on here, even the songs I didn't like GNX. It was throwing me off.
That's not even on the album, though, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I thought it was like a bonus track or something.
No, the title track I think is GNX, and that's on the album. That's the one that has the something like that. But that's one of the only songs that kind of threw me off a little bit, as far as I could probably do without it. But again, listening to it differently in different speakers makes it sound different.
For sure.
And as a whole, I mean, the album is only like 45 minutes. Which I can let the whole thing ride and be perfectly fine with it.
Glad he didn't overdo it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit all the marks he was supposed to hit on this one, man. He let people know that I can do what you think I can't do and still remain true to myself. Because I don't think he sacrificed or conceded anything by putting out this album.
I don't either. And even as somebody like coming from like, this isn't one of my favorite projects by him. I don't think he did either. I think he just artistically took it a different direction, and I can appreciate that.
It's always been my belief that it's easier for Kendrick to do this than it is other artists to come into his world. I think it's
absolutely.
And I say this over and over again, and I always say this is the difference. When we talk about artists, he's one of those people that this is the difference. This is the outcast. This is the chameleon, but the quality never suffers.
Drake doesn't have any one of Kendrick's types of projects.
That's my whole point. That's what I keep telling people on is like, to me, it's easier for Kendrick to do this than it is Drake to come here. I stand on that.
I don't even want to. It's weird. I don't even want to talk about Drake in that sense compared to this album.
That's fair, but what I'm saying,
But I understand what you're saying.
But what I'm saying,
I just don't want it to lead down that path.
Fair,
Right.
yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I do think that that's a thing. Like the stuff that he does, like because I think it's in the approach too.
It's in the approach,
and I think how Drake approach. Not talk about Drake, but and a lot of artists, not every artist, but a lot of artists that are typically trying to stay in the spotlight, if you will, they're just following a formula, you know. And not to say Kendrick's not following a formula to a degree, but it's like
there are variations in the formula, bro. When it comes out,
but there's like a difference between an artistic formula and a capitalist formula. I guess.
Facts.
So
you got me there.
When we talk about Kendrick, though, Kendrick's. None of his albums sound the same, though. So this is kind of on par to Kendrick's style.
That is facts.
Like if you first heard him on Good Kid, Mad City, and didn't hear Section 80 prior, if you heard Good Kid, Mad City and was like, man, this dude is fire, and went back and listened to Section 80, you like, man, this is a whole different Kendrick here, but it's still good.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then when you go forward to Pimp a Butterfly, this is a whole different Kendrick. You get a different variation of Kendrick on every album. And there's still flashes of what you know and love from Kendrick, but it's always going to be a different version of where I'm at. He even alluded on the album to, I'm the primary reason why Black Hippie never happened.
Yeah.
Because I moved on creatively. I was in a different space. So pretty much blame that on me as to why we never got Black Hippie. Everybody else is on board.
Yeah.
He also talked about how he came up with concepts and would get back home and they would do 2 or 3 songs, so that idea is scrapped.
Yeah.
So he's somebody that kind of lives and pivots and wants to do certain things. So you always get a different, you know what I'm saying, variation of what Kendrick is essentially on these albums.
Yep. And I can appreciate that.